Over the last few months, I've acquired a few hand tools that I've just been keeping out wherever I could find space. I soon learned that because sawdust has moisture in it, when it lands on your tools, it can cause rust to form a lot faster than it would under more controlled circumstances. To combat that, I started keeping them in these plastic containers, but I honestly hate the look of plastic containers, and I think I could come up with a little better storage system for them. I have this old ammo box that I bought about 12 years ago for $25 at a yard sale. In the time that I've had it, I've used it as a plant stand, a junk box, and more recently, my wood scrap storage. I know it's pretty small, but I had the idea of building it out and using it as a tool chest to hold some of my hand tools. I think my wood scraps will be nice and safe right here for now. The first thing I wanted to do was lay out the hand tools that I'd like to store. Now, I know all of this won't fit, but I think most of it will. Next, I need to figure out what I need to do to this ammo box to make it into a functioning tool chest. This thing is pretty grimy, but I'm gonna do minimal cleanup in order to keep most of its patina and character. I started by placing some of my larger hand tools, making sure those fit, and giving me an idea of what the final layout could be. I'm gonna need to attach some things to the lid and add multiple levels in order to fit everything. Pretty much a similar layout as a traditional tool chest. I need to remove the metal hardware, but before I do any work on vintage items, I always do a quick lead test with these swabs I got online. Once I confirmed that the box was likely lead-free, I started to remove the screws holding in the metal hardware. I love seeing these old screws and nails that were used back in the day. I just think they look so much cooler than anything you could buy at the hardware store today. Some of the screws were stripped, so I had to cut a new slit for my screwdriver to fit. The box also had a bunch of nasty rope that was originally used as the handles. These were super dirty and caked up, so I don't think they're gonna make the final cut. The lid had these extra pieces that I needed to remove, but I'm gonna hold on to them just in case I need to use them for repairs down the line. I'm also saving the nails because they're in good enough condition that I can use them in future projects. There was also this random piece attached to a smaller rope tied to the box. If anyone knows what this is, please let me know in the comments. My guess is that it was used to lock the lid in place, but I don't know, I'm not sure. I decided to give the inside a quick sand, and it actually made quite a big improvement. As you can see, the left side here hasn't been touched yet, and the right side has been sanded with 120 grit sandpaper. Something interesting I noticed is this box is made out of at least 3 different species of wood. I could smell cedar when I was sanding some panels, but there was also a darker wood on the shorter sides. Based on the green tint of this wood, the lid may have been pressure treated. If I had known this, I probably wouldn't have sanded it to be safe, but it's too late now. This is part of the reason I always wear a mask when I'm sanding, even if I have dust collection hooked up. I cleaned up this part of the lid that was falling apart with a chisel and repaired it with one of the pieces that I had removed from the inside of the lid earlier. These scrap strips of walnut that I cut will be affixed to the sides of the inside of the chest to hold the stacking storage boxes. I used some more scraps to hold the strips in place at the right height in order to clear the taller planes that will be stored at the bottom of the chest. I'm filling some holes and gouges with steel stick. I'm just using this because I had it, but I guess if I had some Bondo, I would have happily used that instead. Next, I moved on to making the hardware that would hold the saws to the lid. This would have been much easier on a bandsaw, but I don't have one. So instead I used a jigsaw and sanded out as many imperfections as I could. I then stained the inside of my lid and attached the pieces. Next, I cut down some oak to the thickness that I needed to make some small removable storage boxes. So while the bottoms of my boxes are drying, I'm making this little shelf out of a piece of scrap white oak from the boxes that I made and drilling a little hole in the bottom that is gonna hold magnets. I'm gonna attach it with the magnet side facing down. So I'm drilling these holes deep enough that the magnet should still work through the wood, but you're not gonna be able to see it. I already tested one and it seems to work, but just so that I don't blow through this wood, I am gonna put a piece of blue tape on my drill bit so I know how deep to drill it. So just imagine this is in the box, and Take two. So just imagine that this is in the box, and as you can see, it sticks. The magnets don't need to be strong enough to hold this vertically like this, but it's just something to keep them from sliding around when I'm moving the box around. And this works perfectly. I made sure to space them out appropriately for the chisels that I have, the 5 chisels. Yeah, and it should look pretty good and be functional once I'm done. Oh. I'm using scrap leather for the bottom, so I kind of had to do a little Frankenstein work to patch a chunk that was missing out of one of the last pieces that I needed. At this point, my tool chest is pretty much complete. There are a few extra holes where I made a couple of mistakes, but you know, this wasn't gonna be a perfect, pristine looking project. It was rough around the edges when I got it, and I don't mind that it's still a little rough around the edges. I've actually been using this for a couple of weeks now, and it's pretty much perfect. It's exactly what I needed. The last thing that I wanted to add to kind of finish off this project was something to keep the door from opening all the way. So I went to Amazon and got these little miniature chest hinges, and hopefully one is more than enough to keep the door open. If I have to, I'll add one on the other side, but there's not really a lot of room there, so I'm really hoping this one does the trick. Hi, honey. And just like that, we are, well actually it doesn't close, but a few minor adjustments and we are done. This turned out to be exactly what I needed. Thank you so much to everybody that watched to the end. It really means a lot. And if you like this kind of content, feel free to give me a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, everybody.